My sister organized my parents' anniversary party without inviting me because they didn't want a failure like me ruining everything. But giving the address to my dad's mistress might ruin things. So at 24 years old, I exposed my dad's affair at their 25th wedding anniversary party simply because I wasn't invited. At this point, my family hates me because they think I humiliated them out of spite. They're not entirely wrong, but I have my reasons. First, they didn't invite me because it was my sister, the golden child who hates me, who organized everything. She's 22, doesn't have a degree or experience, but my parents invested in her so she could start her event planning business. From what I know, she's mostly been hired by friends and some family for small events over the past year, so this was her first big event. And she hates me, always has, so naturally, she didn't invite me. Then, when one of my cousins, who I'm close to, asked what I was going to wear to the party, I realized I hadn't received an invitation. When I confronted my parents about it, they told me the invites had been sent by my sister, but even they agreed it wouldn't be a good idea for me to be there. At first, they tried to sugarcoat it and be nice. But basically, they were saying that because I have anxiety, I didn't deserve to be at the party. Naturally, I was upset because it wasn't like I would ruin the event because of that. Although not being invited hurt, my mom got angry. She's always the first to defend my sister, and told me it wasn't her fault I was a dysfunctional idiot with so many mental health issues. She said that if I wanted to be at the party, maybe I should be normal, but since I wasn't, they didn't want me embarrassing them in front of all the guests with my problems. Then she hung up on me, and my dad didn't say a word in my defense. I also didn't expect him to do that, because that's how it's always been in my family. My mom prefers my sister over me, probably because they're very similar, and my dad is the kind of person who really has no personality. At home, what my mom says goes, and if she thinks my sister deserves to be treated better than I do, then that's how it's going to be. I've known since I was a child that my mom preferred my sister. Maybe my dad didn't want to be so openly biased, but he never stood up to my mom, so it's not much different between the two of them. That's why I shouldn't have been surprised, but when he didn't say anything recently, it bothered me a little. A few months ago, I accidentally found out he was cheating on my mom, and he knew I knew. So, I thought maybe, because of that, he would at least realize he owed me something for keeping the secret for him. I was holding on to something for his sake, so the least he could have done was defend me and speak up for me, but he didn't. I didn't tell my mom because she really didn't deserve my loyalty or anything like that, but that changed in a way. Not that I owe her anything, but you understand. So, after that conversation, I decided to tell my mom everything once and for all. I asked my cousin for the address of the venue, sent it to my dad's mistress, and asked her to show up that day and expose my dad. It wasn't that hard to convince her. She had already been upset with him for months because my dad wouldn't leave my mom. And that's why, on the day of the party, she showed up and told everyone the truth about my parents' marriage. That it was just a complete sham and that my dad had been having an affair with her intermittently for the past 8 years. So that's basically what happened. I can give more details if necessary, but for now, I just need to know if I did the right thing or not. My family was humiliated in front of everyone. My mom insulted my dad a lot, caused a scene at the party, and had to be taken away to calm down. After that, when they got home, she didn't let my dad in, so he's staying at a hotel now. My dad obviously knows I'm the only one who could have put him in that situation, so he told me he was very disappointed in the way I chose to handle everything. He said I was extremely petty and basically just proved my mom right because I humiliated the family out of spite. He said I used someone else's emotions to hurt my family just to get back at them for personal reasons, which was pretty low. Well, I told him I was also disappointed because he never did anything for me and let my mom treat me the way she did. I guess I'm the villain in all of this. I'm not going to argue that. At this point, I don't really care much about this family. They deserve to have all their dirty laundry aired in public. For those asking for more details, here it is. The woman my dad was having an affair with is the mother of one of my close friends from high school. That's how my dad met her. He was the one who went to my parent-teacher meetings because my mom didn't care to do anything for me. Everything was about my sister to her. Anyway, that's how they started a friendship at first, and then it turned into an affair. My friend's dad passed away when she was young, so at least her mom was single. A few months ago, I went to a restaurant a bit out of town for a date, and that's when I saw my dad with her. When I parked my car in the parking lot, I saw my dad's car there, and inside, they were kissing. They broke apart when they saw me standing outside, but it was too late. I had already seen everything. Obviously, I was a bit shocked at first, but then my friend's mom sat me down and explained everything. Basically, she told me they had been seeing each other for 8 years and had planned to wait until my dad told my mom before telling me. But since I had found out, it was better I knew the whole truth. She was the one who told me that my dad didn't love my mom at all, didn't even tolerate her. He had married her just because of pressure from both families after she got pregnant with me while they were dating, which explains her hatred for me, or at least the indifference. Apparently, he had always regretted this decision and planned to divorce her after helping my sister establish her business and build a life away from the two of them. Originally, this was supposed to happen after my sister went to college, but since that wasn't happening and she still lived with them, they decided to delay it. Eventually, it had to happen. Since I already knew, they could only ask me to keep it a secret. That's how I found out. They also told me that, apparently, once my sister's business took off a bit, my dad would talk to my mom about divorce, and once everything was finalized, the two of them would get married. It was clear that my friend's mom took my dad very seriously because she was the one doing all the talking, but my dad barely said anything, not even a confirmation or a nod. I agreed to keep their secret, but I also told them that if anyone asked me about it, I wouldn't deny anything. Luckily, no one ever asked me anything, and no one had any idea what was going on. But then, a few weeks ago, my friend's mom started contacting me to ask if my dad had said anything to my mom or if he had been talking to me. So here I was, unintentionally in the middle of an affair, which, in the end, turned out to be pretty useful. I'm not very close to my parents, so I genuinely had no idea what was going on and couldn't tell her anything. She ended up telling me that my dad had been ignoring her for the past few weeks and that she was very confused about what was happening. For the past 8 years, he had been constantly telling her he would leave his wife once his younger daughter left the nest. Right now, she knew for sure that my sister was working on her business, and it wasn't like she constantly needed guidance from her parents. She was already in her 20s. She was trying to get my dad to talk to my mom and start the process, but he had started ignoring her, and she was confused. So, she tried to talk to me about it, because I was the only other person who knew. Unfortunately, I didn't know anything. But from that interaction, I deduced that she wasn't exactly happy with the situation with my dad. When I contacted her and talked about the anniversary and the party, she was already pretty upset. So technically, if I took advantage of that to get back at my parents. Yes, it was revenge, I won't deny it. I know it kills the soul and poisons it. But for now, my soul feels pretty good. But again, it's not like I forced her to do anything. I just gave the idea, and she acted accordingly. So, she was just as involved. Anyway, that's how the situation unfolded. And yes, that's all. Also, my friend doesn't know. Her mom asked me not to tell her because she thought it would be better if she found out herself. And I think it would be more appropriate if she knew from her mom. I think she must have told her by now, but I'm not sure. Anyway, if she doesn't tell her in a few days, I'll tell her myself. Before I get into the update, a few things in my defense. First, a lot of people have had a lot to say about the fact that I didn't tell my mom about the affair, and instead of being honest, I chose to help my dad cover it up. To that, I'd just like to say that I wasn't covering for my dad. I was simply staying on the sidelines. Additionally, my mom and I have never had a good relationship. She's never liked me, which is why even my sister doesn't like me. Hatred is always a learned behavior, and she learned to treat me badly because of my mom. Since I was a child, my sister could see that my mom never paid attention to me and was always yelling at me for one reason or another, so she thought she could treat me the same way. But of course, I wasn't going to tolerate things from my younger sister, so I would fight back, and we'd end up arguing. That's how she started to hate me, and my mom never seemed to care about that either. So why should I care about this woman? This woman who literally never cared about her first daughter and instead always treated me badly? I don't think I did anything wrong by keeping that secret from her. Even if I did something wrong, I don't care, because I feel like she deserves it. I don't care what anyone thinks. This is karma, pure and simple. Now, about the situation at the party. I agree that I provoked her. My dad's girlfriend never would have found the address if I hadn't sent it, so I played a huge role in that. But again, it's not entirely my fault. She wanted to go, she wanted to show up and make a scene. So she did. All I did was give her the means to do it. I didn't force her to go. And if we go back a bit, I didn't force my dad to have an affair either. If he was stuck in a marriage with my mom and didn't love her, I didn't force him to ignore her and go back on his promises. So, yes, I agree I played an important role in this, but I think it's really stupid to blame me for everything. Besides, it's them who have always treated me badly, so why should I feel bad for serving them a little karma? I've always tried to be a good daughter to both of them. I've always tried my best to make sure I was someone my family could be proud of. And it was never enough. I know it will never be enough. They never appreciated me, so I don't feel bad about anything I did. Yes, it may have been humiliating for them, but I don't care. It was also very humiliating for me when they called me a dysfunctional failure, especially considering that I'm really not. I struggle with anxiety, I'm not good with crowds, and I get a bit uncomfortable, but I don't think that's humiliating for anyone, like they were making it seem. As for the failure, I don't know what they were talking about because, as far as I know, I'm a normal, relatively successful person for my age. I have a stable job that I love and that also pays well. I don't financially depend on my parents, though it's not like they'd help me if I needed it, and I'm completely independent. I think for my age, that's enough. Maybe I don't have a business like my sister, but I also don't have parents who support me if I want to start my own. So, that's a pretty big difference. Now, about what's happening, I've only been talking to my cousin about what's going on in my family, since obviously, my parents aren't going to talk to me. She's my aunt's daughter, and of course my aunt, being my dad's older sister, knows everything that's going on. By extension, my cousin also knows everything, since she's 21 and studies nearby, so she still lives at home. Anyway, she told me that last night, my dad moved in with them temporarily because he couldn't stay in a hotel indefinitely. He has no idea how much longer my mom will keep him out of the house. So, right now, he's living with them. Clearly, my mom is still very upset with him, and I don't blame her. She should be upset with him. She's probably considering divorce at this point if she were in her shoes, but I don't think that's on the table for them right now. At least, not from what my cousin told me. Apparently, my dad is trying to reconcile with her, and my mom is just angry and resisting everything. But the topic of divorce hasn't come up yet, at least not from my mom's side. She just insults him every time they talk on the phone, taking out her frustration on him. But I don't think she intends to leave him. So, it's a pretty bad situation right now, and no one knows how it's going to end. Least of all me. I really don't understand how, after everything that happened, my mom can even think about staying with him. But, well, that's her decision, not mine, so I have nothing to say about it. Also, I talked to my friend and found out that she had no idea about her mom and my dad. So, I told her the truth. I didn't hide any details and then apologized for not telling her sooner because I honestly didn't know how to say it. Also, I didn't want to get involved. She seemed to understand but was in shock, which was also expected. So, I hung up and gave her time to process everything. I didn't know what else to do. Anyway, at least that's out of the way. I told her, and now she can confront her mom. I feel a little bad for the mess everyone is in right now, but I think I've kept these secrets long enough. I don't need to do that anymore. I tried to stay out of it, but that got me nowhere. So, now I'm just being honest and telling everyone what they need to know. If that's bad for them, it's not really my problem. I'm not the one who committed infidelity or was with a married man. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks since I posted my last update. Apparently, my parents are now heading for divorce. It took a while, but my mom finally decided to file for divorce and told my dad. She said she couldn't continue with it, that after finding out he had been cheating on her for 8 years, she couldn't pretend everything was fine and go back to living her life with him. My dad was pretty devastated. My aunt caved, so now he's living with them again. My cousin told me he's in the process of getting divorced right now. It seems like it's going to be quite complicated because he doesn't agree with the terms of the petition. There will probably be a lot of negotiations before they reach a mutual agreement, and we all know how those things usually end. It definitely won't be pretty, and it could drag on for a long time. It's uncertain how he's going to handle the situation because, from what I know, my mom asked for an exorbitant amount of alimony, and my dad doesn't agree with that. So, they're entering mediation with their lawyers, and we have no idea how this will end. I don't think my mom will back down. Honestly, I'm really interested in the kind of gossip I'll be able to gather from this. A few months have passed since my last update, and I recently found out from my cousin that my parents' divorce has finally gone through. In short, my dad fought a lot and managed to reduce the alimony to a reasonable amount, but it's still quite high for him. However, I'm not sure if it will be enough for my mom and sister because it's not the kind of income they're used to. My sister might have to get a real job, since I don't think my mom can maintain her lifestyle and still support her business with that amount of money. But honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with how things turned out because, well, no one's happy. I wanted to teach them a lesson, and I think I did. So, I have no regrets about any of this. I'm very happy now that I have the full gossip, and I can make an appropriate update for you all. I'll tell you about my dad, my sister, my mom, and even my dad's mistress. It was a big effort to gather all this information for you, but with all the great comments you've left lately, I felt encouraged to bring more and more gossip. I'll start with my sister, who had the biggest personal growth. She got a job and everything because now she doesn't have the money to keep a business that was causing more losses than joy. Without my dad's support, which he either didn't want or couldn't continue providing, the business doors, which were more closed than open, are now completely shut. As for my mom, I've already told you that she wanted to monopolize all my dad's money. Her selfishness is so big that not even her golden daughter is worth enough for her to give it up. But to tell you something new, she had to find a cheaper place to live. The house my parents were renting was way too expensive to maintain, between the gardening and cleaning costs, which my mom wasn't willing to do, and the fact that she couldn't afford the house without my dad's money. So, she decided to move. My sister also moved because she wasn't happy with the fact that her mom wasn't spoiling her with the money that, supposedly, she deserved. My dad, on the other hand, tried to get back with my friend's mom after the divorce was finalized. However, my friend's mom didn't accept him. My dad was apparently looking for a place to stay, although he didn't tell the mistress. According to him, he wanted to wait for the divorce to end so they could enjoy their love. It's a real shame that someone, I don't know who, told the mistress's daughter that my dad also wanted forgiveness from my mom. I think that ruined any chances he had. Now, he's back living alone because my aunt couldn't keep sheltering him indefinitely. It must not be pleasant having a middle-aged man crying because the two women in his life left him. According to my cousin, that's how my dad has been acting. So, that's what's going on with everyone involved in the story of my post.